Check out the Last Toy Store for some great deals on NECA figures. I use them all the time. Check them out at the link in the description.
Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hey there, collectors. It's going to be Steven here, and welcome to another NECA review, where today we're not going to be looking exactly at a horror figure, but we are going to take a look at something pretty neat and live action from the 90s. We're going to be taking a look at everyone's favorite Megalosaurus. It's going to be Earl Sinclair from the Dinosaurs, the TV show that everybody absolutely loved. Jim Henson Productions, you know the drill. Earl Sinclair is going to be one of two Dinosaurs Ultimates that we do have released at this time, and right now we haven't heard about any other releases. So we are going to love what we have while we have it. But is it going to be worth the purchase? Let me tell you right now, there were some changes from prototype to final product, and some stuff that doesn't even match what is on the box. Ooh. Well, is it a big deal? Let's take a look to see whether or not he's going to be worth adding into your collection. All right, so now that we're into the actual looks department, well, this is kind of what we have to talk about. The prototype, and actually on the box, there is a note that the open mouth head is looking straight ahead and the closed mouth head is looking to the side. On social media, there were a lot of people who noted that it would be best practice if we could get both of the heads looking both directions, so we could, have them looking straight ahead as well to the side. And a lot of people noted as well, myself included, that it would be great if we could have the default normal head looking straight ahead. And they flipped the expressions, but they did not tell anyone ahead of time. So all the solicitations, all of the promo images, they have this. So if you weren't aware that they flipped the heads, well, congratulations. Now you do. Aside from that, everything actually looks pretty stellar. If you're going to go one-to-one with the actual suit, there are going to be some discrepancies in terms of accuracy. Like, I do believe that the head seems a little taller than it should be wide, so it is a bit off there, and the nails, they're brown instead of like sort of the beige cream-ish color that is used, but nevertheless, I think we can accept those discrepancies because when it comes to the actual sculpted detail, the figure does look great, and the flannel pattern on the shirt is wonderful. For general paint quality, I'm not really seeing a whole bunch of stuff out of place. It is true that they did have to have some give and take for the stomach area of Earl. I mean, he's a big guy. When it came to movement on the actual suit, so this way, you could have the actual suit actor move around, and they did do this as well on the figure. It's not exactly the best looking, depending on how you pose the figure, though. You can kind of sort of get around this. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll take it. They tried the best they could to get around this, but nevertheless. There are a couple of issues here and there, but honestly, they're so minor because it's so good. Yeah, Earl looks really great. Didn't really know where else to put this in the video, so you know how for a few years I was saying I really didn't feel like NECA put forth their best effort for their Godzilla figures? What is really Earl, except for not Godzilla? Anyway, articulation for this big lug here is actually pretty impressive. With the design, obviously, he's the big old daddy dinosaur. He's going to have some restriction in the articulation, but I would have to say that I am impressed. Obviously, we are going to have that cut that I talked about, which, is it suit accurate? Not really. But, I mean, even still, I'm willing to accept that compromise considering the range of movement. So the whole head and the neck segment is all going to be on a ball joint system, a double access barbell style, so he can look left real well, look right really well. It actually rocks nicely, so he can look up about that far and look down about that far. And popping the head off is, the default head is somewhat easy for me. I can do that. I was able to do that right out of the box, and as a matter of fact, I can do that with relative ease, getting the head back on, right? The alternate head, which he does come with an alternate head, and we'll talk about that. That one, I have to use heat pretty much anytime I do any swapping. So if you have any issues swapping out the head parts, use heat on the socket and then pop them in. The arms are a little bit of a different story. Out of the box, they were stiff, so I did need to heat up the figure, and we do have pegs where they plug in, so that's going to be a swivel, and then hinge so he can raise his arms up and down. So we can get the big old dinosaur to T-pose, actually, if we would like. which is cool. Now, here's where the big issue came into play. For his elbow hinges, they are relatively small, and then there is a peg where they fit in, so we get that kind of sort of bicep swivel. So I'll go ahead and show you. I got to put a little bit of force behind it, and then we get a little bit of turning movement. So pretty much anytime that I move the elbow joint, it does seem like the peg that's going into the bicep area here is getting stressed a bit. So I'm always a little tender with it. For all of the different hand parts, I'll go ahead and pop the hand out. We do have the wrist, which plugs in on a peg, and then we do have a hinge, which moves forward and back, in and out, if you will. So all of the hands are going to have effectively the exact same range of movement where they spin and then they move. Now, I will say that pretty much all of the hands were stuck out of the box, so keep that in mind. You will probably need to use heat in order to get them to have the most movement that they can. Now, torso movement. My dude's got a ball joint. Admittedly, it's only going to be just, 1 point of movement here. We're not going to have like an ab crunch and a waist joint and, pull down. But I mean, that is really cool. I like that. That is really great. That's exactly what we needed. And that ball joint system that they have here is exactly what makes this figure so great. And it makes it very awesome. For the hips, we do have ball joints there, as you can see. They do plug in, indicating like thigh swivel, which we can kind of sort of get, but it's okay. So we can do the splits, and he can kick out. Now, this is where we get a little interesting. Yeah, you can hear the squeaking. About that far forward and that far back, respectively. But then you can also see we get this portion here. So your mileage may vary. So, yeah. Knees, single hinge, very tight on mine, both of them. I don't really want to move too much, but they do swivel. And then for the ankles, they move up and down, and then we have incredible ankle rocker movement. For the tail, fully articulated, as fully as it can be, with a ball joint, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the tail was actually really easy to pop on, so it does come separate in the box. So for articulation, I mean, with what they had, they blew this out of the water. Earl, 2 big dinosaur-sized thumbs up. Accessories time, and here is another part that NECA changed, but they did not communicate. So we talked about the open mouth head, and the eyes are changed from what is in the promotional materials. But aside from that, we are going to get a total of 6 extra hands. That's going to be 3 sets. We are going to get a TV remote, a 6-pack, generic, never mind that logger's in the name, captain's hat, Fern Hill mug, and that is it. All right, so here is going to be the open mouth head. He's happy, he's jolly, he's looking off to the side. However, the eyes aren't quite aligned there, so he's kind of not, yeah, I think you get what I'm saying here. He's looking off to the right, but it almost seems like his left eye isn't quite catching up. C'est la vie. For the lava logger, this is pretty cool because you can actually remove all of the individual cans, though I'm not quite sure why they have logger in the name and they're just kind of generic with the 6-pack, but put a pin in that. We will come back. The printing is kind of blurry considering the size. It's not really an issue, though. And yeah, like I said, we can remove all of the cans, so this way, well, we'll show you what kind of that can mean a bit later. The TV remote, pretty straightforward, standard. Not a whole lot to talk about here, except for we have some buttons and bits and bobs on there. Fern Hill mug, really cool. He does have the pipe, which is interesting. Again, I'm alluding to something. Cool, nice, easy to hold, no big deal. Captain's hat, mine has a quality control issue. It does have that black blob on there. This is kind of hard to get Earl to wear. If you do have some blue tack, you can use a little bit of this to help secure it. I put it on the back of his rim there and put it on his head. I think that works out. And then here are going to be some fun pictures that we have. So by default, Earl kind of comes with some sort of splayed hands. He's got some finger wiggling hands. He does come with some pointing finger hands. He does have some left and right hands that are for holding some different accessories, most specifically the lava logger. But for the hands, they seem like they're made of hard plastic, but they are very easy to open up. He does have a more so splayed left hand, so this way you can put other accessories in it. And then he does have a really splayed out right hand, almost as if he's trying to sing to someone. Okay, so we have all of those accessories, but there is one big one missing, which on the back of the box, they actually obscured the promo shot. They dropped the stogie. Yes, his cigar is not included, and it is actually still on the promo pictures on NECA's website and on pretty much all retailers. They did remove it on NECA's website from the product description, but they did not send out official notification to everyone that this would be removed. Is it a fault of NECA? Yes, but no. Yes, because they didn't let people know and they didn't swap it out for another accessory. No, because this is a Disney property, and even Super 7 had issues with, I believe it was Krusty, for their Super 7 Ultimates Simpsons stuff. So it is clearly a Disney issue with them cracking down on family-friendly stuff. Yet in this, they included a lager and a pipe. I'm going to let you sit with that. The accessories are cool, but definitely the omission of the stogie, and it does kind of seem light, but when you put everything together, it's pretty good. Yeah, Baby Sinclair is definitely worth the purchase to add into the accessories here. So if you do need other things like support stands or effect parts or, I don't know, just general props, you know I have videos to help you out. To round out the review, a size comparison section with both of the currently available Sinclair figures, so this way you can see how big they'll be when you do add them to your collection, assuming that you're going to. Of course, we have to have father and son here, because I think most people will get them together. As you can see for themselves, they look nice together, and they should blend in just fine enough on your shelf. So, buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Earl is going to clock in at a heavy weight, not just his weight, of course, at about $41.99 for MSRP. I will say that it is quite a steep price, and hopefully that is not where the ultimate NECA figures are headed. That is a lot of money, and I really do hope that not all of the figures are headed that way, because actually, Baby Sinclair is kind of creeping up that way too. Thankfully, the last toy store does run some deals, and you can get this guy for a good price like I did, and you can bundle stuff up. Legitimately, that is how I got this for such an affordable price. And with that being said, if you can get him for a little bit cheaper than $40, yes, that is good. I like him. I think this is a good figure. I was actually pleasantly surprised, especially with the articulation. I am bummed that there were some changes that were not accurately communicated with customers. That really annoys me, but when it came to the final delivery of the product, mwah. Earl Sinclair rocks. Give us more, NECA. Don't leave us in the dark.